Okay. There is a monster in the school systems of America. Okay, maybe there are many, but I'm talking about one of the scariest ones. It sucks all creativity and self-confidence in students, and in return plants ideas of doubt in the minds of students all over the nation. This is why I am talking to you today, to prove to you that standardized testing is more harmful than helpful. If you're like me, you get cold sweats just thinking back to the SAT or ACT. Or maybe you still have nightmares about failing or missing them, but no matter what negative emotions you have about them, one thing remains, that you would have been just as fine without them, if not less stressed. We've all been there. I'm no exception. I have test anxiety, and I've struggled over standardized testing, and my feelings on this are going to, on standardized testing, are going to let me tell you how completely ineffective I feel like they are, and how it is even harmful to students, but they will not keep me from also explaining the counter argument that explains why it's been around so long. But first, here's some things that you might find interesting. There are great reasons for the American education crisis, and the U.S. is ranked only 7th, and why the U.S. is only ranked 7th in education, and standardized testing is one of them. According to Alfie Kahn in his book, The Case Against Standardized Testing, few countries today give these formal examinations to students before the age of 16 or so. In the U.S., they subject these children as young as 6 to standardized exams, even though almost all experts in early childhood condemn this. Also, there are so many factors that the tests don't account for. There's no way to measure true academic ability or success with these tests. Rather, it's at very best a measure of how effective a school is in a certain area. Kahn also claims that research has repeatedly found that the amount of poverty in the communities where schools are located, along with other variables having nothing to do with what happens in classrooms, accounts for the great majority of difference in test scores from one area to the next. Well, no matter how you look at it, this type of standardized testing, even with the perfect bubbles and calming colors, is not the romanticized version of performance rulers that the government has hoped they'd be. Have you ever sat down to wonder why we use these? Where did it all start? Well, it started in 1923. I'll do the math for you, that's 94 years ago. According to William Edding in his article, Standardized Tests in Schools, written in mentally defective children from the normal children in schools. By at least 1971, the use of standardized testing was being questioned. Along with many other reasons today, these tests are used to gain entrance into the next level, grade, or school, or to decide whether or not they deserve more one-on-one attention, and in an idealized general sense, to gauge the achievement of students in schools and therefore figure out the allotment for school funding. In Mada's effect of standardized testing, he quotes Gardner as pointing out a favorable view that, quote, it has been proven over and over again that the alternate methods of evaluating ability are subject to gross errors and capable of producing grave injustices. Some extremists believe these tests exist only because they fit nicely with the use of political slogans like tougher standards or raising the bar. Also, as pointed out by Kahn, concepts such as intrinsic motivation and intellectual exploration are difficult for some minds to grasp, whereas scientific reasoning and numbers, no matter how off or miscalculated they are much easier to understand and hold on to. So you say, sure, it stinks, maybe it's not as effective as it should be, but what harm is it doing really? The group's standardized tests seem to be biased towards the privileged white and Asian students. Not only is the gap large because between racial minorities, it's nothing compared to the gap between the poor and wealthy. In his article, Why It's Time to Get Rid of Standardized Tests, Brooks points out that gaps in scores between privileged white and Asian students and Black and Latino students persist despite decades of research and numerous studies attempting to explain them and close them. One theory suggests that the tests unfairly penalize students who are the first in their family to attend college. As Brooks correctly stated, one thing all this research has shown us is that the issue lies with how we use these tests, not with the kids who take them. In summary, this outdated idea that truly serves even less of a purpose than to memorize the effectiveness of schools in geographic areas is in need of either serious reformation or abolishment. If you dig at all into the standardized testing, you'll soon realize that the last thing it does is improve a child's well-being or education. In fact, it's very possible it does the exact opposite. We cannot let our students be bullied by their own scores in this country anymore. We have to dig deeper, and we have to be willing to recognize kids for who they are instead of a number that they're forced to chase.